it's time. Building a brand takes time.
Yeah. And brand matters.
Brand is everything.
Yeah. So Roger, we met 4 or 5 years ago, and you were in the construction space, and I was really fascinated because you were making content. And at that time, no one was doing it, although I'm not sure how many more people now are actually doing it, even though it's gotten, again, tremendously easier. And that was unusual, but you had a background that kind of fit that. So share a little bit about your story and your background, and how'd you end up being a contractor? How did you know about video? Like, share a little bit about that. We messed this up the first time, but it's worth sharing again because it's a unique story, and I want to dive into this. I actually want to. This whole reality TV thing's hilarious. So just share a little bit about that.
So I grew up doing this stuff with my dad, carrying half a bale of shingles up the ladder at the time when I was 8 years old because that's all I could lift. I hated every second of it.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing to help him. And at some point I decided I wanted to be an artist, and I went through photography and drawing and all of that and found filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Went to the School of the Art and got a degree in filmmaking, and went out to LA in 2006, right as the economy was about to collapse, which filmmaking pretty much vaporized and became reality TV.
Right.
And I had to pay my bills, so I started working in reality TV as a casting director. My first show was called Hell Date. It was a BET reality dating show.
Right.
It's pretty bad, but it's still on YouTube. You can find it. My name is in the credits. So,
something that seems like you're really proud of. Yeah.
I worked on the Venus Williams pilot. I worked on a lot of pilots, producing, writing, editing, directing, just about every hat I could wear.
Yeah.
Trying to find a way through LA, basically. And a friend of mine she knew the casting directors for House Hunters Renovations. And we got on House Hunters Renovations, my wife and I, because we had bought a house in Santa Clarita, California. So they remodeled the kitchen, and I remodeled the 2 bathrooms with my wife. We sold the house, took the equity.
So it was your house that was on House Hunters?
It was my house.
Were you working on the show too?
No.
Okay, you guys just got your house on the show.
So I had actually left the film industry and started a photography company at the time.
Okay.
Which we talk about on the show. I was doing youth sports photographies like AYSO, Little League, the little photos.
Right.
So I've got this really weird timing in my life. I started a photography business that could have been very successful right as the iPhone came out and people quit buying photos. My wife and I decided to leave LA, come back here. This is where she's from. This is where we met. And I started flipping houses. I bought 2 foreclosures and started a Facebook fan page. And from there, friends and family started seeing my work and recommending me. I became kind of a handyman, doing cat doors and deck boards and things like that. A friend of mine, it kind of kept going and the jobs kept getting bigger, but maintaining that legal under $30,000 without a general contractor's license agreement. I got a call to work in Brookberry Farms where a basement renovation was going to be way above that. It's really interesting because those homeowners liked me so much, I told them I couldn't legally do it. And they asked me if I would be willing to take the test to do their job.
That's unusual.
It's really unusual. They had other contractors come out. They liked me. They saw my Facebook content.
Yeah.
I was referred by a very good friend.
Yeah.
So I said, let me give it a shot. And they actually waited 4 months for me to pass the test and become their general contractor.
Wow. That says so much. Had a few conversations with people recently talking about the value of doing work creates client success that makes people happy. There's really nothing in marketing or advertising or sales that's any more powerful than that. And for those people to be willing to wait that time, that says a lot about they liked what you were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's as powerful as that. As much as I look forward to, we're going to talk a little bit about making content and what role that's played in getting yourself out there when a lot of your other, I don't know if competitors is the right word, but a lot of people in this industry just don't do it. Or they miss the entire boat of the reason you would do it. I think people still think like, oh, I need to, tell people my phone number and where to call me. And that's what content is. Did you tell me, I feel like a few years ago when we met the first time, you were saying like, your original dream was like become Quentin Tarantino, right?
Yeah.
Is that, am I right on that?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I thought I was going to go to LA and make the right connections and, make my version of Pulp Fiction.
Right.
And
yeah.
I found out that everybody in LA thought that.
Yeah, right. Right.
And you think, you're an idealistic young filmmaker. You're like, well, he did it. I'm different. My stuff's better. I had a pretty famous actress tell me that my script was one of the best things she's ever read, but wouldn't give it to her agent because she wasn't going to put her name on the line for me. It's a weird society out there.
Right. And his story is, I was hearing this the other day, which is totally random. He worked in a video store.
Yeah.
That's how he learned, is he worked in a video store and watched the videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't work out that way a lot of times, but I think that's really unique. If it hadn't been for that, you probably wouldn't have, all these things wouldn't have come together, growing up, doing some construction. So you did have some confidence on. If you hadn't been out there, you probably wouldn't have been on the remodeling show. You wouldn't have gained some of those skills, being a photographer, being in the video production world. And it's funny how all that stuff comes together.
Oh man, there's that old adage, you make plans and God laughs.
Right.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Right. Yeah.
I love to look back at my past, the steps I've taken, the things I thought I was going to do, the things that happened, and where it took me. And I'm very happy where I am. So all of those things that you think you want, until you don't have them and you find what you really want, you just don't realize it. It's just part of that life thing,
Yeah. We have experienced that so many times. That the plans that we make, God has other plans for us, and it's okay, because when it all comes full circle, even the things that seem like massive failures, and I'm sure going out and the filmmaking thing not working out felt like a failure at the time. I know that I have had some big failures in my career, or what felt like big failures in my career, but once some time passes and once you see the next door that opens, you realize it was just a learning experience that you probably needed to have, or I needed to have. I don't want to speak for you, but I needed to have the experiences, and that goes back to what was going on, when the recession happened, the way that kind of crushed our business, and then we pivoted, and that was a failure, but massive learning experience, and even up until recently. So I totally understand that. I do want to talk about, we are very much big proponents of creating video content, of business owners kind of grasping hold of that and using it as a way to take advantage of how buyer habits have changed. Being visible in places, you have to have it now, but you were ahead of the game. Tell me a little bit about what role that has played. And you really haven't talked a lot leading into this. So, I see that you've put a lot of stuff out there. I know that you were ahead of the curve for sure. What role has it played since you started a home improvement business, a renovation business? What role has it played to be active on social media in your business? I
can honestly say I wouldn't be where I am without the steps I took on Facebook fan pages. I've talked to a lot of other contractors through all this, and they say, well, it doesn't work. I was like, okay, it doesn't work. But I can tell you, based on my accounting, I spent $2,000 a year on Facebook ads and built $1 million business. It works. You just have to know how to do it.
Yeah.
And what works and what people want. And a lot of people go into it thinking it's a sales channel. Like, you should hire me because why are we different? And no one wants to be sold. It is sales. General contracting is sales, but it's that hard sell of look at me. It just doesn't work. People want, I might quote Gary Vaynerchuk a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of been my North Star.
Okay.
Brock Johnson as well within the last year, but just his thought process made a lot of sense to me. You have to bring value to people in social media. They don't want to know why they should hire you. They'll decide to hire you when you tell them why that foundation is cracked, or a myriad of other things that you could inform them about their home.
Right. the challenge that any business has to get through in social media and creating content for social media, it starts with understanding. And I just kind of want to lay this out here because you're doing such a good job of, I couldn't have scripted that better. Those are great sound bites. But is that when someone goes on social media, when they go on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, or they're watching Reels or Shorts or whatever, their intent to buy, virtually non-existent.
Correct.
And you can just think about it. When you get on any kind of social media, what are you there to do? What is it that you spend your time doing? How is it that you consume that platform? And then imagine that the people you do business with are probably very similar. And obviously there's a different styles of consumption and content across the different channels, but you don't go there saying, I'm going to go shop, or I'm looking for, I don't go to Facebook, I don't go to Instagram looking for a contractor, or really looking for anything for that matter. And the platform is already serving the ads on like a 3-to-1 basis, right? It's like three pieces of content and then it serves an ad, 3 pieces of content serves an ad. And our brains are so used to that. What do you do when you see ads on Facebook? You just go buy them.
Yep.
You look for the next thing that someone you know that has something that's interesting to you. As a business, even though we want to sell, we have to figure out how to show up in the newsfeed the way people want to consume in the newsfeed. You have to start there, and that's not sales. And I mean, it's not sales. It is, entertainment, interest, something helpful, and people will watch that kind of stuff forever. It doesn't matter who makes it. And you can build a relationship with them that way. But that is such a hard concept for most business owners. I'm sure when you've talked to other contractors, you've talked to other people, it's a very hard concept because we view media from that 30-year ago, 20-year ago lens when it's like, okay, if I had media, it's a 30-second spot on a TV commercial or a 15-second spot on a radio ad. And I better use that time to tell people why to call me because that's what that spot is for.
Yeah.
But here's the difference. I think I never really thought of this before. When we used to advertise on TV, the spot was you showed up in the spot in between the content, right? You were the ad in between the content. When you go on social media, you have to be the content,
correct,
not the ad between the content, if you want to be effective. Can you imagine if the whole TV show that you watched was just like one ad after another? You wouldn't watch very many shows like that, right?
Yeah.
I've seen a few probably like that, but I think that's an interesting thing. So in the beginning, you were doing Facebook fan pages. What kind of content were you creating? Was it primarily like picture focused or?
Honestly, it was before and after shots.
Okay.
So I worked in reality TV a long time, and I took my lead from HGTV. I was like, what do people want to see? Well, they want to see the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was running, was before and after shots for $20, $30 for a week.
Yeah.
And getting 10 and 15.
Oh, and what year was this when you were starting this? What time frame?
2015, 2016.
That was a good time to be on Facebook ads.
It was. It was great revenue.
Yeah.
And there's so much that has changed and so much that you need to know now. Instagram likes people, not businesses.
Right.
You can run the exact same dollar amount, the exact same ad on a business account.
Yeah.
Or a creator account, and you're going to get twice as many views, twice as many interactions on a creator account. You don't do it on the business, because I've done it. I've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And Facebook does not, or Meta doesn't push your ad the same way if you're registered as a business account.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, again, taking from Gary Vee's book, face is more important than brand. There's a reason Nike hires LeBron James to rep their product.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk has more followers than Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
It's people connect with people. And if you're not willing to go out there and be the people and you just want to put a logo up, or if you're not willing to go out there and be the person
mm-hmm.
and you just want to live off this logo, no one's going to care.
Right. That's pretty easy to ignore a logo. I've seen some of the more successful B2B business-based creators, they're doing it in reverse. They are doing, it's face first. It's the evangelist. That's kind of the word I like to use, but it's the evangelist that represents a company. It's like, hey, I'm so-and-so with this. And so that people know they can make that connection that it's attached to a company, that I own a company, that I work at a company, that we do this, but it's the person they want to connect with. And, I think same thing runs true, not just on Meta. Same thing is on LinkedIn.
Sure. LinkedIn's,
it's people focused. People vote that they would much rather hear from a person than a company page. I mean, it's like a 10-to-1 exposure difference.
Absolutely.
And of course, LinkedIn is just now launched. You can run ads to individual accounts because they're realizing that their advertising model probably wasn't making as much sense to be through business accounts because no one is investing in those business accounts that's successful. None of the successful creators on LinkedIn are doing it through a business account. They're all doing it through individual accounts. The CEO, the whoever, for the business is the spokesperson of it. So putting your face out there, how has that changed from what you were doing in 2015, 16 timeframe with Facebook, with very, very cheap ads and fan pages? How has that evolved to what you do today content-wise?
I do a lot of, as a general contractor, I want the homeowner to have all the information. I want them to be educated on the process. I want them to understand things. So, I set out early it was very hard for me to be the face of the camera because I was always behind it.
Okay. I didn't even think about that, but okay.
But I knew how to get the people in front of the camera to say what I wanted, the way I wanted. Mm-hmm. I had to reverse engineer that in my head and kind of direct myself, which was a unique experience for me. We had an employee that was also a cinematographer, and we were utilizing him to help produce these videos.
Right.
Well, he got a job offer as a full-time cinematographer, and then that left me kind of shooting and producing my own content, figuring out how to do that differently.
Yeah.
Which is what you see now online, is me doing everything.
So it's just you.
It's just me.
How much time do you invest a week into your content?
Well, I've got a lot of jobs, so I'm always shooting B-roll. And I'm trying to think of things that I can tell people about, whether it's windows or brick patterns or something like that. So, I'm on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, creating content in my head.
Yeah.
I am.
So it's still a huge focus for you mentally.
Focus.
Okay.
Huge focus. I'm always creating content.
Yeah. What seems to be, so I want to talk a little bit about, so which channels are you're talking to homeowners?
Yeah.
I assume probably middle to upper middle class.
Yeah.
Or above homeowners doing the renovation projects. What platforms are you going to reach that group now?
I'm still big on Instagram. TikTok's been tougher to crack.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that.
It's a tough one to crack. I'll get 200 views on a video where I'll get 5,000 on Instagram.
Right.
And I think that's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It was the same thing on Instagram. I was getting these crazy views on Facebook, and then I did Instagram and didn't get very many views. And then suddenly, Facebook fell off and Instagram's huge. So
yeah.
It's being ready to adapt, and I'm still figuring it out. Every day is a learning process, trying to analyze it, figure it out.
What kind of content mix do you do? So, I've seen, you have done more, what's the word? I guess more carousel type content I've noticed recently, video. What's your kind of mix there? Do you have something you go for, or is it just vary?
I try to do a video and a carousel of both because different people like different things.
So any topic, you try to hit both?
I try, yes. Some are harder to do than others, but I've figured out most of them. The carousels, it's all a shot in the dark. Some do good, some don't.
I like consuming content that way.
You like carousels?
Yes, I actually, if I'm consuming and I want to learn something quickly, I like being able to swipe through the information.
So I do too. Like videos, to me, I've got 2 kids and the TV's on and I can't watch the videos. So I've got this backlog of videos people have sent me that I just don't have time to watch right now.
Right.
So the carousels work for me.
Yeah, they seem, I think that the amount of time if I'm on social media, I don't particularly love to consume social media, but when I'm on social, it's easier a lot of time to consume with the sound off.
Sure.
And carousels, graphical media, it's a little bit easier to consume that way because it's meant to be consumed with the sound off. And yeah, you can put subtitles on videos and things, but video is still meant to be, it's an audio and a visual experience. So, I like that right now, just personal consumption, but I know some people want to watch things. The other thing I've seen work really well, it's so accessible right now, is Reels. Are you doing a fair amount of that, or?
Yeah, I've got just about everything on Reels. It's always challenging to find new content, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing, similar content. It doesn't have to be like completely new to to attract that next person? Or
And that's something you're going to learn. I talk about Brock Johnson. He's a social media marketer on Instagram that I've been watching a lot the past year. His thing is find your top post from 6 months ago and post it again.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
80% of your clients
Never
didn't see that post.
They didn't see it.
I have tried that with videos that maybe got 700 views, posted it again, and it got 5,000 views.
Wow.
So it's all a test. It's all a hack. It's all trying to, stay up on it and listen to the experts, as expert as they can be, and testing it out.
It seems like you have adopted an ongoing experiment mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that really, really critical for people to have that? Not look for like, okay, I'm going to find the secret and then we're going to do the thing. It's really more of the ongoing experiment, right?
The algorithm's always changing.
Yeah.
Always up against the algorithm. And the CEO of Instagram puts posts out, and I see them through the Brock Johnson account where they will tell you need to be posting carousels because that's where we're putting our algorithm right now. And that's why I really started doing carousels, is because the CEO of Instagram had to post carousels, and suddenly my carousels are doing well. Gary Vee will talk about whenever they release a new feature, that's where the algorithm goes.
Yeah.
So the green screen was huge for a while because that was the new feature.
Right. They are doing the same thing in their business. They are testing new things, and if they don't get traffic on it, it's hard for them to measure how it affects the platform. I mean, the platform wants eyes on and time engagement, right? They don't want you leaving, which was like, one of the things I always found amazing, why it's so hard for people to get their mind around, like, don't send people off of social media to do things. Like, linking your YouTube video on a social media platform, they're like, why would we show this to anyone?
Yeah.
We don't want people to go somewhere else. We want them to stay right here. I think your habits are people want to stay right there. They're already in feed. That's why they're there. They don't want to go to a website. They don't want to go somewhere else. So
that makes it even more complicated to create content, though, because
it does.
You need, depending on what you do, I don't value YouTube Shorts, maybe just, with the introduction of that, but I don't do how to refinish this table.
Yeah.
I don't do 10-minute videos. I'm never going to do 10-minute videos.
Yeah.
No. But
10-minute videos are a lot more work.
There's so much work. I've tried. I don't have the time and energy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would need a production crew. It's harder. It's harder. So I stick with what I know. When I go on TikTok, I go on Clapper, and I'm on, there's another new one that I'm posting on. You've got to be ready for those changes.
Yeah. I like that. But you were talking about, I didn't mean to interrupt you, that it's harder to keep people create the content that's viewable in platform.
If you're going to do, you need different content for YouTube, for Instagram, for Facebook. Or the people that go to those providers to consume content are very different audiences.
Right.
So it's a lot of work making 3 or 4 different pieces of content that are actually the same piece of content to go on 3 or 4 platforms.
So would your advice be to focus, find a platform where your audience is in focus, or try to be everywhere?
Depends on your energy level. Depends. It's a case by case. I focus on Instagram. That might bite me years down the road. I don't know, but it's worked so far.
Yeah.
I have tried to refocus on Facebook, and it's just, I'm not getting views on Facebook.
Yeah.
So it's tough when you don't see the work pay off to keep putting that effort in.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but you got to try. It's just, a lot of people don't understand the gravity of social media. They don't, it's for my kids, or it's just for looking at this or that.
Yeah.
And it's to ignore social media on business development levels is like if 1950 came around and advertising agencies came to Coca-Cola and said, we've got this amazing new invention called a commercial. And they said, you know what? I'm good with TV and I'm good with radio and
billboards.
Yeah. Coca-Cola wouldn't be here. And that's what we're going to find out about businesses not utilizing social media. They're not going to be here because they become irrelevant.
It is that big of a deal because people's attention, we're spending more time watching short form videos than we are watching like Netflix and television and Amazon combined.
Well, let's say you watch a Netflix show. When the commercial comes on, what do? You pick up your phone and look at Instagram.
When the commercial's not on, people are sitting there on their phone on Instagram.
My wife and I are rewatching Breaking Bad right now.
Okay.
And we're both like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? Like, we remember nothing of it because we were on our phones the first time we watched it. And guess what? We're on our phones now. We're like this the whole time.
Yeah.
We might put our phones down for 10 seconds. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever your clients are, putting ad dollars there is the most important thing you can be doing to grow a business.
That's exactly right. The definition, the simple definition of advertising is to make known.
Yeah.
And to make known, you have to be where the attention is.
Absolutely.
Where the eyeballs are. The best sign, the best advertisement, the best words, the best visuals, if there's somewhere that no one sees it, it doesn't matter. And everyone's attention has moved into that. And it's like, it's everything from like my wife's grandfather who's, 85 years old. He spends his time scrolling Facebook, on social media. So it's not for a certain demographic. It's for everyone.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious. I have two important things I want us to touch on before we get off. First is the second hardest thing. Once people are convinced, I know I need to do it. For business owners, is creating content is often very difficult to measure success.
Sure.
How do you measure success in your content?
Phone calls, people that I went to an estimate yesterday, their budget wasn't realistic, but he said, man, I've been following you on Facebook and social media for 6 years. That means a lot. The fact that I have 3 jobs now. Well, I just completed 2 jobs. One of the homeowners flat out told me, he said, I called you because of your videos. Anybody that is willing to put themselves out there and expose everything they're doing, that's somebody I want in my home. One of them, I had a client where an architect told her she needed to call us. We were the best contractor in town because of social media. I am doing a job now where my clients have been referred to me through the social media posts and their neighborhood website, and I got the job. So knowing that it works, watching it work, watching it unfold, engagement.
Yeah.
I've heard people go, I know you from somewhere, and they don't know where. I've also had people in Home Depot go, you're Roger Scheck. And I'm like, how do you know me? And it's all Instagram.
Yeah, I like that. But you didn't say, I put up X video and I got X client from that video.
Oh,
it's not that type
not.
of connection.
No, you're never gonna book somebody from a piece of content. It's a relationship. These people have consumed my content for years, sometimes before they've called me. That architect has followed me for years. And then the right client came along and he's like, you ought to check these guys out.
Yeah, but that's okay because it doesn't cost any more to make the content, whether it takes the person 60 days of watching it or 6 months or 18 months of watching it. It's all the same to you.
Absolutely. It's an investment in the business, in the future, in the relationships with the clients.
Okay.
It's just, I want to be the most trusted name in general contracting in America. That's my goal. I don't want every job. I can't do every job.
Yeah.
I'm not the right contractor for every job.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I don't have competition. There's amazing contractors out there. I bid against them every day. You either want to work with me or you want to work with them. And that's what I want to work with the people that want to work with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And to me, when we talk about this, I think, well, what a simple concept. You did something, you invested it over a period of time. Now you hear the results from people. You don't need to say that I ran this ad and this person called and they clicked here and then they showed up on the website and then they, got an email sequence from me, and it has to be something that can be like tracked and it's working, it's working. But I think that is a hard thing for a lot of business owners to step back and look at the big picture and realize that this is an investment to make over time, to pay off over time.
I can tell you, I ran a Instagram ad last week. It was several of the bathrooms that we have remodeled, and it got 80 redirects to our company page. Well, we didn't get any phone calls. I'm okay with that. It just brought awareness to those 80 people, and just because those 80 people may not be my client base, let's say they can't afford to remodel their master bathroom, but they might work at a doctor's office whose doctor can't afford to do that. And she'll say, hey, why don't you check this out? Which is exactly what happened with that architect. You know, it's time. Building a brand takes time.
Yeah. And brand matters.
Brand is everything.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. These are important things, and they can't just come from me over and over again. Okay, so last question, I do want to say, since you are a one-man production crew,
Sure.
what are some of your favorite tools and things to use that make it more accessible and easy for you? From what you're taking video with, what you're editing it with, what kind of things do you use to do that?
The iPhone is spectacular.
Yeah.
It's all you need. I did buy a little $40 Bluetooth microphone for the audio. I've got a LED light similar to this, and I edit on Adobe Premiere.
Okay. So you still edit a little bit, the traditional.
What I want to do, I haven't been able to do well on my phone. It's a little more cumbersome for me.
I think it is too.
Overlaying dialogue with, and I've got a background in film and Adobe. I cut on Final Cut. I do know the software, so it's a little easier for me. And I can edit a video in 60 seconds. I try to be 30 to 40 seconds on a video when I do stuff. So it's not that complicated. If you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. And I mean, that's kind of the, I probably would have said similar things to that. I know there's a lot of tools out there now. There's a lot of things people are using. And, if you were to talk to an 18 to 22-year-old, they probably can do some amazing things on social media just by editing with some of the tools on their phone. It really irritates me to do that on the phone because I'm just not good at it. It's can I bring it into Premiere and just do it the way I know to do it? I know how to lay a track over a track and edit it and clip it and cut it and just it makes sense to me. But yeah, I can understand that. I was curious because I think that's something that stops people.
Absolutely.
Is time and effort, and can I do it, and is it another skill? And you can get help with all that, and that's one thing that I like to tell people is really what you have to do is just press record.
Yeah.
You can get help with the rest of that. It doesn't have to cost a fortune to have someone edit some video for you or to post video for you. But if you don't get in the habit of being the face on the camera, of learning what to share, of capturing it, of just getting the raw footage, you can't even begin to start that process of seeing what people want.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it, Roger.
Absolutely.
Man, this was great.
Yeah,
this was great. I love watching your stuff. I love watching them. I'm a contractor.
I know.
And I like watching the projects. I like seeing the creative ideas and the different finishes and I like the before and afters,
Right.
So I enjoy it. I've enjoyed watching, your success on that. I think it's really, really cool. And, making content for construction on social media, it's not making the next Pulp Fiction, but it's still it's a good business. It's not
bad.
Yeah.
It's definitely entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. So we need to do this again sometime, not wait 4 or 5 years to do it.
You tell me. I'm down anytime.
Well, I appreciate you coming out. Well, thanks for watching again. If you have any questions, drop them below. I'm sure Roger has a million more things to share that I just didn't think of to ask. And we'll see you guys next time.